Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining us one more time. We are live, and today we actually, for the first time, after 6 times trying, we are live at exactly 6:30.
Woo!
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that is so cool. My name is Barak. I'm one of the pastors here at Fellowship. And let these other guys introduce themselves as we start.
Sure. My name's Elizabeth. I'm helping out with the young adult women.
My name is Bill, one of the pastors at Fellowship in Dubai. So if you're just tuning in now, we're really glad you could join us. We're going to chat for about half an hour, and every week we have a different topic. Today we were talking kind of the mid-down. We have some questions that have been raised about life before lockdown, after lockdown, and we're going to start reflecting on that. But we really want your questions as well. So go ahead and comment in the comment section and let us know what questions you have.
Yep. And as we get everything started, let's start off by asking the simplest question for real this week. What have you been reading, watching, or listening to? Let me hear from you guys.
Yeah. I really like podcasts and videos and stuff. So I've been listening to some short snippets through YouTube with Tim Keller, talking about suffering and how we can cope well and think through biblically about suffering.
Wow, that's cool.
I've been binging on the Book of John, so I've been listening to the Book of John during the sermon. Last Friday, we were challenged to not binge on Netflix and YouTube, but instead to binge on the Gospel of John, and it's been really good to just get in context. I've also been listening to some music, and just a hint, I found the next Coogler family hosting song will be a dancing, rapping extravaganza. It's going to be great.
I want to see that, definitely.
Yeah, there's an artist I really like. He's called Datin, Datin. He's a hip hop artist, a Christian hip hop artist, and he chucked an album this week. It's called CHH Ain't Dead. CHH is Christian hip hop, and it is epic. It is all kinds of epic. So that's all I've been listening to this week.
I'm so glad Bernard said Dayton, not dating. I thought you said dating. I'm like, what? I'm confused.
Yeah. So he's really good. You should just get on. Just listen to him. It's really good. So it's like dating, but without a G at the end.
Thanks for clarifying. Good that we've got like multiple accents going here. So thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, tell us about the topic for today.
Sure, yes. So we're looking at how things that we can learn through this time of lockdown and the things that we want to take with us, hopefully, once this is all over, God willing. But also, like, just thinking through before that is the news around the world. Like, some countries have opened up. Have you guys heard, like, much about that?
Yeah. I think Australia, your country, is opening up a bit more, if I'm not wrong. And which other country have I heard? Some states in America are opening up, but we shall not talk about that.
Well, Bill, you know more about that, right?
So the first question that we have today.
Oh, man. I thought you didn't hear me, but I realized what you're trying to do.
Yeah, no. Yeah, by the way, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Just comment in the comments section. We'd love to know if you're watching the Arab Emirates, which is where we are, or if you are from some other country, we'd love to know where you are, or maybe even where you're stuck. I talked to somebody this week that I had assumed was in the UAE, and they weren't. They were stuck back in another country, and they've been there for 8 weeks. And about this whole time that I've been messaging them here in the UAE. So,
wow. Yeah, I have a friend also who got stuck I think he's in Mumbai, if I'm not wrong. That he's been there for about maybe 8 weeks now, and his wife is here. So yeah, that's a scary situation for me. That would be scary for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be tough. Definitely. I mean, this is the thing, like, Australia, the curve seems to be going well, like in terms of the numbers, but the fear in a lot of places is having a second wave. That's the fear, like having what do you call it? Is there a word for that? Anyway, so that's the fear right now, I guess, because we don't have a vaccination yet. So, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, cool. So even as we talk about countries opening up, and even the idea of us going back to normal one day, and whatever that normal will look like, I guess it just makes sense for us to go into the topic for today. And the question for today is essentially, what will life look like immediately after this whole thing ends? Or what lessons are we learning in this season that we are going to take with us for the next season? How preparing for where we are going from here? I've just used 10,000 words to put the same thing over and over again, to repeat myself. It's a skill.
But I guess this is the interesting thing, right? For us to know what lessons we've learned and how this will change how we go back to normal. I guess the first question is, what have we lost when this all started? What do you guys think?
That's a good question. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section, kind of what you feel like you've lost during this time. And Baraki, I think you're going to say something. Go ahead.
No, I was actually just thinking about that. It seems like an easy question, but it's such a like heart-wrenching question. Like, what have we lost in this season? Like, I'm just thinking about people I know who had opportunities lined up before this, maybe 8 weeks or 7 weeks ago, and business opportunities or even a job they were promised, and all of a sudden all that dried up, and the people who've lost opportunities in this time, and that's actually quite saddening.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I guess there's also. I'll go for it, Bill.
No, go for it.
We've lost, like, human interaction, like physical human interaction. We're online and that kind of thing, and so, but we've lost that kind of closeness physically. In a sense, like, can't meet up together, we can't go out together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think talking about loss is good for some people. And I was just talking to some friends today, and we were talking about just the feeling of grief and grieving and having a hurt. So I think it's okay to recognize that there have been some things that we've lost. And maybe if you're watching this, you've lost someone really close to you. Maybe you've lost a job, or you have a significant source of loss that's easy to recognize. But there may be some of you watching right now that maybe haven't recognized a feeling of loss. And I think that that's all right, that when we can recognize that there is grief, and we know that God is near to the brokenhearted, we know that we can go with our grief to God, then I think that's a healthy posture to at least start the journey with.
Yeah. And also I wonder as well, like, we've actually, in a sense, for part of the time as well, when we were in full lockdown, interacting with nature, like going to the park, going to the beach, just going out. And I think we'll get to it too, but it causes us to realize, what have we taken for granted?
Yeah, just being able to step outside the door without hearing the coffin dancers music in your head, just being able to step out and not think about, I could be putting my life on the line by doing this. Hearing the birds singing outside your window and not seeing them, going like, I wish I could be outside right now. That's also impactful as well.
Yeah, and freedom too, really, like this, our sense of freedom anyway, the ability to do what we think whatever we wanted to do, when we wanted to do it, to go out, to go to the shops, to hang, to drive, a sense of freedom, really. Yeah,
that as well. So even as we think about loss in the whole picture of it, and the whole of the everything that may be in different aspects, the people who've lost a lot and the people who've lost little, or even the people maybe they've not experienced loss in this season. I guess part of the question would be, even as we think about the next question, would be then, how do I myself be there for people who've lost stuff, and how do I support people in this season?
Great question. If you just tuned in or started watching, we're talking about what life might look like after lockdown, or what life is like in lockdown, just a time of reflection. If you have questions too, just go ahead and write those in the comment section. Glad to watching from your couch, Brigitte, that is an amazingly comfortable country, I'm sure. And we see people watching from Dubai and from Sharjah. Glad you could watch us. Scott, glad to see that you're joining us as well. We look forward to some questions from you guys that you might have that we could all dialogue, whether in the chats or speaking. So how can we be there for people who have, how can we provide practical ways to support people who have experienced loss in their life?
Part of it is the fellowship care, as in that's basically for people who are watching in Dubai. Fellowship care has just been one of those things that, so before I go on, fellowship care is how we reach out to people who are in need. And the people who've really responded greatly from the little they have, saying, yes, I may have a little, but this little could be more than what others have. So I will share this little I have. The people who have plenty and they've said, I have plenty in this season, but I would like to share my plenty. I don't want to hoard everything I have. And so the people who are saying physically, I will just give what I have in that. So part of the lesson maybe in this season is a lesson in generosity, a lesson in giving to those who don't have.
Yeah, that's right. And there's also a sense of, hopefully looking out for the other and just picking up the phone and giving a phone call, not just Zoom, because, people, Zoom is really good and important, but just picking up the phone and calling people too.
Phones work?
Phone calls, yeah. One of the things that I think that we can be there for people is just making the effort to initiate in those relationships. A lot of times we're so busy Zooming and we're so busy connecting for work that we actually maybe lose touch with people more than average. So if you know someone, if you know anyone, chances are you know someone, go ahead and just send them a WhatsApp, give them a phone call, just a quick, hey, I'm praying for you. Hey, what's going on? Thinking of you. It's to connect relationally. And I think that that's one of the things that we're going to see after lockdown. I'm really interested to see how that will impact our face-to-face relationships, but also our digital interactions and maybe how they might be different.
That's right.
Yep. The next question was, let me see whether I can get to it quickly. I have, Elizabeth, do you have it in front of you?
Yes. Yeah. What have we gained in the social distancing age?
Gains.
I think one of the things, and I think it is gain, some people might disagree, but we've gained perspective. I think that's something that we've gained. Humanity, we realize that we're not as powerful or in control as maybe we wanted to believe that we were. And we realize that something that we can't even see can really lock down whole countries, even the whole world. And we've seen also how fragile life is, but also maybe some of the things that we depend on, like the economy or certain connections or jobs, the things that we maybe could have depended on. We've seen how frail and fragile those are. And I think a healthy perspective, it's helpful perspective.
Yeah. And also there's a sense of creativity too. Like some people who've had hobbies that haven't been able to do it for a long time because of how busy life is, have been able to go back to them and do that. But just to keep in mind, I mean, something that I think maybe some of us forget is for some people, this has actually meant less time. So some people are more busier than they were before. But for some people, they've gained more time to be able to invest in their hobbies, painting, reading, writing. Hey, Barak, you've been writing, right?
Yes, I have been writing quite a bit, and it's one of those things that I had totally stopped doing because of how busy everything was. And it's not like this time is not busy. It's just that I've just realized that like there was a season where I was just trying to figure out what's my reaction to fear in this season. And instead of just thinking about what my reaction to fear is, I thought, let me write what scripture says about every time God says fear not, what follows that or what precedes it.
Yeah.
And it's just been an amazing study for me, and I've just put it down on paper. One of the things that I think also people have gained in this season is beards, and you can see Bill.
Yes.
Bill has
No.
one of those glorious ones.
That was the question about what if we lost, and I was going to say, well, I could go on a lot about losing, but thank you. Yes, talking about gaining. Oh.
People
Yeah.
have
Oh, another thing
gained.
we've gained. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's useless. It's just some people have gained beards, some people have gained weird haircuts from their wives.
Some
'cause-
people have gained weight.
Oh yes.
Or a deeper appreciation for ice cream and Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but people also have gained rest. There are people who've slept more in this season. I was talking to some of our young adult leaders. I will not mention them for fear of them quitting our team, but they were asking me, how do people wake up at 9 a.m.? That was, they're resting more. So that is really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Blessing William has a really good question. Here's the question. It says, my roommate lost her job, but she's stopped talking to who wants to help. How can I help her in this situation? So I think, how can we best help people who have experienced loss but don't want help?
Wow. Part of it is giving space to someone, because part of the loss process is a grieving process, and then people grieve in different ways, and sometimes being in someone's face while they grieve is actually very painful for them. So being there but giving space is important. So just letting them knowing that you're willing to help is actually doing way more than you think it is, because you're assuming by them not accepting your help, they are not accepting the help. But actually just them knowing that there is someone available to help is such a huge thing for them. But also just give them space as well to grieve in their own way and allow them to go through the grieving process.
Yeah. And also as well, like small acts of kindness, like I don't know how your house, runs, or people's house when they've got flatmates, but cooking them dinner, not just your dinner, or buying them some chocolates, like just small little things that make them say, I thought of you.
Yeah, I think one of the things we have to realize about comforting those who've lost or showing compassion is sometimes the best thing we can do is simply be with them, simply sit with them. I think a lot of times well-meaning people during times of loss have tried to say, oh, it's not that bad, don't worry, things will get better. And I think the Bible talks a lot about the place of lament. It talks a lot about broken hearts and tears, and there's a season to be sad. That's all right. And sometimes the best thing that I found really helpful when I face loss is someone coming to me and saying, boy, I'm really sorry that you're going through this. This is heartbreaking. And then just sit next to me and be with me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Mm.
Yeah. Thank you for catching that one, Bill. It's good to know that we can easily just go through the questions, and anyone else who's putting questions, please just put them up. We will go through them as we continue. The next question. Yep.
Real quick, before we go to the next question, just so you know, Blessing, there is a job seekers support class that we offer. It doesn't necessarily get people jobs, but it does offer support, both spiritually, emotionally, and practically. Things like trusting in God during this situation and hearing the good news of Jesus, but also how to go through a CV and what HR professionals are looking for. It's taught by HR professionals who just want to help during this season. So I just want to steer you in that direction. I'll probably give you a direct message with link if you're interested.
Yeah, and just let me add to that, we also have a Celebrate Recovery, which is an amazing program, but part of it is something called Grief Share, which specifically relates to people who've lost someone in this season, or not only this season, but lost someone, and that they want a support group to help them deal with grief. And that could be one of the ways as well. So if you're watching this and your situation is not that you've lost your job, but you've lost someone you love, or someone close to you, or someone in your family, then Grief Share is also something you could get into. So just go to Fellowship Online, fellowship.dubai.com /online, and you'll see all those things there.
One more thing, I'll put it in the chat section on Facebook and on YouTube, a whole list of equip courses that we're offering. The Job Seekers is one, Grief Share is one, but there's also some courses starting up tomorrow on emergency finances and how to be good stewards of the money that we have, taught by people who really know their stuff. And so sign up for those classes. Right now, you can just click on the link. I'll put it in the notes right now.
Yeah, thank you. So let me go to the next one. What are you looking forward to get back to? And this one, we can just go quickly through it. What are you most looking forward to get back to?
I think the freedom and also not having to have that as a concern, like the coronavirus, just being able to have that not on your mind all the time. But I'm not sure if we'll ever get past that, maybe a while after the coronavirus situation goes down, but that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back to coffee in a loud coffee shop, just with all the noise in the background and everything. I'm looking forward to that, just the noise, to struggle to hear the person seated next to me.
Oh, I see many of you are talking about handshakes and hugs, and one of my love languages is touch, and so I'm just like dying. So that's so good. I look forward to putting hands on people's shoulders and high fives and hugs, and in fact, the delivery guys, I found myself like trying to reach out and like pat on my shoulder, like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, oh wait, we're not supposed to do that. And I haven't. We've stayed 2 meters apart at all times. This
is going to be really weird, especially like, I mean, from Arabic cultures, when we greet, like when I greet another girl, we kiss on the cheek, you know, once, twice, 3 times. It's gonna be like, oh wait, oh what, oh, you know, like it's kind of weird. It's like, hey, it's awkward dance, you know.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to going back to Creekside and the first neighbor out of this season. I'm looking forward to that. Like I'm working out for it. I'm just preparing to say neighbor.
That's another thing too. Looking forward to going to church and seeing everyone again, like actually physically being together. That would be amazing when we can fellowship together, hear God's words, sing together, hang out after. That's going to be, I can't wait.
Here's the thing I'd like us to actually to think about as we think about this season. And one of the things that we've done is we've thought about how basically we can go back to when this whole lockdown ends, and it could be next week, it could be next month, it could be next year. But all those things are within the foreseeable future, and it's within a time frame that we have set for ourselves within our lifetime. And we're doing a lot of planning and thinking and dreaming towards the next few weeks. So the question really that I'd like to ask you guys is, how are you preparing for eternity? As in, not only now, but eternity beyond today, beyond this life, beyond life after lockdown. Just what are we doing beyond this, and how are you preparing for that? That is a question really for me that burns in my heart.
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of folks, I was saying before, we've lost this, we've really gained a better perspective, but we've lost this idea that we are all powerful or we're all in control. And more people, I think, are facing the fact that we don't live forever. And so I think one of the best ways we can prepare right now for eternity is to make the most out of the present. And making the most out of the present, we're focusing on God and sharing God's good news in respectful and polite dialogue, but definitely really, really clear dialogue. And hopefully this is getting us all thinking about what we believe and how we act as well.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think, the phrase YOLO, right? People go, oh, that means we should just live it up because, life is so short. We've lost this perspective on power and control. But actually, no, it helps us to think through eternity. And it's not making the most out of our life for ourselves and selfish reasons and own pleasure, but the other person and helping others in particular engage with God and being right with God so we can all be together in a world where there is no more pain, no more suffering, no more coronavirus, no any virus, no death even, because that is the ultimate worst enemy, right? Death, really, in this life. And so being able to be right with God now, but into eternity, and helping others to also be right with God.
It was really cool to see. By the way, I know you just joined us. Glad that you could join us. I know Velma. Velma has a great story. And when we talk about sharing the good news of Jesus with others, one of my closest friends when we lived where Velma lived, one of my closest friends is actually her husband. And he was her boyfriend at the time, and she brought him one day, and we were sitting down on the couch. I'll never forget it. And we sat down, and I talked about the good news of Jesus. And I said, that sin separates, and there's nothing we can do to reconnect with God. And he's like, oh yeah, really? Yeah, okay. And I was like, yeah. And the only thing that'll make us right with God is believing in Jesus' death and resurrection. And he's like, okay. And I was like, well, do you want to put your trust in Jesus today? And he's like, yes. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And we've had such rich and meaningful relationship of that. And so, Velma, I was really glad to see your name there. Tell your husband I said hello. And it's just a delight that when we share, the power is totally in God's hands. When we share the good news of Jesus, we don't have to try and convince anybody, nor should we act surprised. But when we share the good news of Jesus, the power is in the gospel. The power is in what God has already done, not in any sort of words that we have.
Yeah, but this week, actually, I spoke to a friend of mine who has taken time through the quarantine, the social isolation season to Zoom with his close friends who he's not had time to connect with. And he's taken the time to actually share the gospel and share his story with them. And 2 of his close friends have become followers of Jesus in this season. And so for him, I think how he's preparing for eternity is saying, yeah, I want to be with my friends in eternity. And the only way that could happen is when they believe in Jesus as well. And I want to be with them there. And it's so amazing that he's taken the time to do that. And those are the stories that have made this week for me bearable, just to hear such things from people.
Yes. And, I think it's also important to think through as well. We want, people to be with us into eternity, but also how are we growing our own faith? How are we maturing in Christ as followers of Jesus? Are we going deeper in the Word of God? Are we spending time in prayer? How are we, are we investing in, listening to more sermons online or podcasts or whatever, just to grow our own faith, to grow in our spiritual walk with Jesus as well?
Yeah.
As we prepare to share the good news of Jesus with others, we have to know the good news of Jesus, and the way we get to know God and how wonderful He is by reading His Word. And Barak had made some for something else that we're working on together. But I thought was really interesting, and I'm going to share a screen with you guys. This is really interesting. Barak had made a chart of how long it takes to read each book of the Bible. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. But let me just share this with you here. As you can see, let's see, here we go. As you can see, it takes, it takes 3 minutes to read Philemon. It takes 7 minutes to read Titus. 1st and 2nd Timothy together is 27 minutes. And so when I think to myself, and when all of us think to ourselves, I really don't have time to read the Bible. I think 27 minutes, that's like an episode of something on Netflix, or Philippians in 14 minutes. There's YouTube shows that we watch that are easily 14 minutes. So just if you want the whole series of charts, we'll tell you how to get those in at time. We want to make sure to get those in your hands if you want them. But it's just really fascinating how short it can be as we read God's Word. But the real question isn't how many times have you been through the Bible? But like a famous professor of mine, Howard Hendricks, says, he said, it doesn't matter how many times you've been through the Bible, but how many times the Bible's been through you.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And also there's a prayer that Paul prays. I'm just trying to find it, but he prays that the people would grow in their knowledge and love of God, right? So we want to grow in that. And so to be able to grow in our knowledge of God, well, we got to read about God, and we find that in the Bible, right? And as we grow and understand him better, we grow in our love of him too. Knowledge and love kind of work hand in hand. As we grow and understand more of his character, we grow and understand and love his character more.
Yeah, and not only love his character, but also love learning about him and sharing with others what we learn about him. Also having that, going back to Paul, having that Berean attitude where he taught the Bereans, and every time he taught them, they would go back and read the word and go like, is this what he said? And so if you think about it, it's easier for you to avoid false teaching if you can read the Bible for yourself. It's easier for you to grow in your faith if you actually read the Bible for yourself, but it's better for you to grow in your faith when you do it with one another. So getting into a community where you can study the word of God together and go like, hey, what does it say? What does it say? What does it say? Is so important and so key for your growth, and so key for you to prepare for where God is taking us from this place.
Yeah, and that's why like going to 242 groups or a Bible study online is so important at this time, especially in this time. Being with other Christians around God's word, digging deeper into that, praying for each other, being there for one another. Is such an amazing opportunity that we have during this time and throughout all of life, really.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. That's all the time we have for tonight. Are there any questions online that we could go to?
Man, time flies, doesn't it?
I know. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments section. What I'm going to do is I want to encourage us in 1 Corinthians 3, 6 and 9. I posted it in the comments section there. 1 Corinthians is great reading through it. We're through it with our 242 small groups now. But just a reminder that when we share the gospel, when we share the good news about Jesus, that all the power is in God's hands. And so think of someone today that you can share the good news of Jesus with. Practice it on your family members, remind each other of the good news, and then think of someone you can talk with, because, hey, let's face it, in this day and age, we have enough bad news, or we have enough uncertain news. We definitely need some good news. So we look forward to how we'll make the most out of this time.
Yeah. Before we go, if you're here and you're saying, okay, everyone else is going to share their story. I don't have a story. I've not met Jesus yet. I don't have a relationship with him. I don't know him. And you want to ask more questions about that, just DM me, DM Elizabeth or Bill. Just if you're watching this on Facebook, you can easily do that and just say, hey, I don't have a story. That's it. And then let's talk from there.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Okay. Great.
Good to see you guys.
Bye. Thank you so much
Bye.
for joining us.
See you next week.
See ya.